Hello, everyone. In Meghan Markle's latest effort to redefine life as a modern royal, or rather, a former one, it's hard not to notice the striking contradiction she presents. Her public image, carefully crafted and rehearsed, seems to reveal a mix of entitlement and victimhood. With each revelation, there's a glimpse of self-centered behavior, manipulative tendencies, and a surprising lack of self-awareness. The world has witnessed celebrities stumble before, but few have managed to distance themselves from so many. People while presenting themselves as champions of empathy and inclusion. Meghan's recent actions highlight the growing gap between how she sees herself and how her behavior is perceived. Her latest courtroom drama, involving a lawsuit against her neighbors over alleged violations of royal customs, is a striking example. Attempting to enforce imagined protocols isn't just audacious, it borders on absurd, expecting curtsies and silence in a democratic society reveals a profound misunderstanding of the country she now calls home. Even more troubling, it suggests a perspective where everyone else serves merely as extras in the story of Meghan Markle's life. Calling her actions selfish doesn't quite capture it. They verge on authoritarian. Let's take a closer look at Meghan's complaints, which sound more like a parody of privilege than genuine concerns. According to court documents, her neighbors were accused of crimes such as walking their dogs, hosting barbecues, and, wait for it, playing basketball near her property. These ordinary activities were apparently so unbearable to Meghan's royal sensibilities that she saw fit to call in her legal team. What kind of person views children playing basketball as a threat to their peace of mind? Only someone so detached from reality and consumed by self-importance that they mistake simple community activities for defiance. Her alleged demand that local children address her as "Your Royal Highness" is perhaps the most glaring example of her inflated ego, especially considering she relinquished such titles after stepping down as a working royal. This demand exposes a deeper insecurity that Meghan tries to conceal behind performative activism and empty speeches about equality. If she truly believed in breaking free from outdated hierarchies, as she often claims, why cling so tightly to aristocratic privileges? The hypocrisy is astounding, even by celebrity standards. Meghan's issues go deeper than her actions. They stem from the meticulously crafted image she presents. She has built her brand on themes of compassion and inclusivity, yet nearly everything she does seems to reflect exclusion and self-absorption. Her repeated claims of wanting a normal life are quickly contradicted by her constant quest for attention. From high-profile interviews to lawsuits against neighbors, Meghan struggles to balance her call for privacy with an undeniable craving for the spotlight. The contradiction isn't just glaring, it's exhausting to watch. Then there's her treatment of Prince Harry, who appears more and more like a pawn in Meghan's pursuit of self-promotion. Once admired for his down-to-earth personality and bold challenges to royal traditions, Harry now seems like a shadow of the man he once was. He echoes Meghan's talking points while distancing himself from his family. It's hard not to feel sorry for him, caught in a cycle of lawsuits, public controversies, and Meghan's relentless quest for validation. At what point will Harry realize he's given up his own identity for a story centered entirely on Meghan's complaints? Even her activism, which she promotes as a core part of who she is, comes across as calculated and opportunistic. Her speeches are filled with trendy buzzwords and vague promises, but often lack meaningful action. For someone who claims to advocate for mental health and women's empowerment, Meghan seems surprisingly unwilling to put in the real effort. Instead, she chooses high-profile appearances and carefully orchestrated moments meant to grab attention. It's all for show, lacking real impact and painfully obvious to anyone who's paying attention. The people of Montecito, who once overlooked Meghan's eccentricities for the sake of being good neighbors, now find themselves caught up in her latest PR nightmare. Their reactions, from amused tolerance to outright frustration, speak volumes about Meghan's struggle to get along with others. This isn't a story of a misunderstood celebrity trying to adjust to life beyond the palace. It's a clear example of someone who thinks the world should revolve around them. Their responses, ranging from bemused tolerance to outright frustration, reveal a lot about Meghan's difficulty in relating to others. This isn't the tale of a misunderstood celebrity trying to adapt to life after the palace. It's a straightforward example of someone who believes the world should revolve around them. Rather than reflecting on the criticism directed at her, Meghan digs in her heels, portraying herself as a constant victim of circumstances. Her refusal to take responsibility only increases the growing resentment towards her, making it harder to feel any sympathy for her situation. Her relationship with the media is another area where Meghan's hypocrisy becomes glaringly obvious. She complains about invasive coverage and toxic tabloid culture, yet constantly seeks high-profile chances to tell her side of the story. It's as if she wants all the perks of fame without facing any of the downsides. This selective approach to publicity, giving interviews when it benefits her while condemning negative press as unfair, is both hypocritical and frustrating. What about her claimed desire to raise her children away from the spotlight of royal life? By suing her neighbors and stirring up headlines with her behavior, Meghan has done more to draw attention to her family than any tabloid could. It's hard to imagine a worse environment for children than one filled with lawsuits, public feuds, and a mother who can't seem to stay out of the spotlight. If Meghan genuinely cared about giving her kids a stable, private life, she would put their well-being first, rather than chasing constant validation. At the core of it all is a woman who desperately wants to be seen as special, unique, and worthy of admiration. But admiration can't be demanded. It must be earned. Through her actions, Meghan has done little to earn the respect she clearly seeks. Instead, she has isolated herself from her neighbors, her husband's family, and a large part of the public. Her constant need to prove her value only exposes her insecurities, making it hard to see her as a credible authority or source of inspiration. Meghan Markle's relentless chase for fame, despite her clear lack of understanding and respect for the traditions she claims to uphold, is truly baffling. Her continued demand to be addressed by royal titles, somewhere between audacity and absurdity, reveals a deep delusion about her place in the world. For someone who chose to leave the royal family, her insistence on being treated as though she still holds a central role within it is laughable, if not downright pitiable. It's a classic case of wanting the prestige without the responsibilities, desiring the crown without bearing its weight. The most obvious irony here is Meghan's constant rejection of royal norms when they don't fit her narrative, while aggressively trying to enforce those same norms when it flatters her ego. She left the UK, stepped away from royal duties, and claimed she wanted independence, yet still desperately holds on to her Duchess title. The cognitive dissonance of expecting others to curtsy to her while criticizing the monarchy for being out of touch would be comical if it weren't so obviously hypocritical. Her recent court case, where she boldly told neighbors to follow royal rules, shows a glimpse of her strange way of thinking. It wasn't just a simple mistake. It was a clear attempt to show power over people who don't owe her anything. Meghan's expectation that people in California should treat her like royalty, call her Duchess, and follow rules more fitting for a medieval court is surprising. What makes her think others should act this way toward her? Perhaps it's because she doesn't understand the difference between earning respect and simply demanding it. Real royals, like Princess Anne, who chose not to give titles to her children so they could have normal lives, know that nobility is about how you treat others, not how they treat you. Meghan, however, seems to believe that just having a title is enough for everyone to show her constant admiration. It's not just a mistake. It's a clear sign of how little she understands what royalty truly stands for. Her focus on titles and formalities is especially confusing when you consider Meghan's supposed dedication to modernity and change. If Meghan truly wants to challenge old systems, as she says, why does she hold on so tightly to one she thinks is outdated? The truth is, her activism seems more like a cover-up, a mask hiding her real goal of seeking attention and fame. What makes this behavior even more frustrating is Meghan's obvious attempt to present herself as a victim when her efforts to take control don't succeed. When her neighbors refused to give her the special treatment she expected, Meghan didn't pause to rethink her actions. Instead, she filed a lawsuit, claiming to be a victim fighting against a society that doesn't appreciate her so-called greatness. This pattern of stirring up conflicts and then playing the victim when things don't go her way is both predictable and exhausting. What's even harder to understand is Meghan's belief that she can keep capitalizing on her royal ties without facing criticism. From podcast deals to children's books, her efforts to profit from her fragile connection to the British monarchy are being met with growing doubt. These ventures aren't just opportunistic, they're glaringly obvious, showing a person who views the royal name not as a responsibility or honor, but as something to profit from. Meghan wants the prestige of royalty without putting in the effort to deserve it, enjoying the benefits while avoiding the duties that come with it. This sense of entitlement also shows in the way she deals with others. The idea that neighborhood children should address her as "Your Royal Highness" feels almost like a joke. But for Meghan, it seems completely reasonable. To her, marrying into the royal family alone is enough to earn such reverence. What she seems to ignore is how her behavior and attitude contradict the very principles that make royalty worthy of respect. In stark contrast, figures like Kate Middleton and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, have embraced their royal roles with grace and dignity. These women understand that respect isn't earned through titles alone, but through actions. They have taken on their responsibilities and gained admiration through years of committed service. In contrast, Meghan appears to think that having a title is enough, as if simply being called a duchess should make everyone around her bow in admiration. This attitude isn't just out of touch, it's deeply disrespectful to the very people she claims to represent. Her demand to be addressed with royal titles while openly criticizing the monarchy exposes someone more focused on the perks of power than on any real sense of duty or service. It's an insult to those who have worked hard to uphold the values of the institution and a clear sign of how disconnected Meghan is from the principles she claims to stand for. What makes it even more exasperating is her unwillingness to take responsibility for her actions. When Meghan faces criticism, whether for her lawsuits, PR missteps, or out-of-touch demands, she deflects, shifts blame, and plays the victim. It's never her fault when things go wrong. Instead, she blames the media, the monarchy, or society for not understanding her. This refusal to take responsibility is not just frustrating, it speaks volumes about her character. Despite her claims of empowerment and resilience, Meghan seems unable to face her own flaws. Her fixation on titles and constant pursuit of recognition reveal a deep insecurity. She seeks validation, not for her true self or accomplishments, but for the image she wants others to see. Meghan claims to embody independence and modernity, yet she clings to an outdated obsession with status and privilege. In her desperate bid to assert her importance, she has only managed to push people away and damage her own credibility. The Meghan Markle story is a striking example of modern entitlement, leaving many puzzled by the boldness of her actions. Let's be honest, her relentless quest for royal recognition while rejecting the responsibilities tied to it, is nothing less than a charade. It seems Meghan believes that marrying into the British royal family gave her not just a title, but an unquestionable claim to admiration. However, her actions repeatedly show she's more focused on pretending to be royalty than understanding what it truly means. Consider the neighbor in Montecito who, in a moment of quiet courage, refused to bow, literally or figuratively, to Meghan's unreasonable demands to be addressed with royal titles. That person deserves a medal, a parade, or maybe even a national holiday for standing firm and refusing to feed into Meghan's delusions of grandeur. In a world where so many tiptoe around her ego, this neighbor's small act of defiance feels almost revolutionary. They stand for everything Meghan doesn't: humility, groundedness, and a commitment to integrity, refusing to bow to someone else's inflated sense of self-importance. The irony of Meghan's situation is that her constant demand to be treated like royalty has only led to the opposite of what she wanted. In the UK, the Commonwealth, and among those who truly respect the royal family, Meghan is seen less as a duchess and more as a parody of one. These are people who understand the real meaning of service and duty, who have watched figures like Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, and even the often overlooked Princess Anne dedicate their lives to their roles with quiet dignity. Meghan's behavior stands in stark contrast to this. In contrast, her outbursts feel like the tantrums of someone who never truly understood the responsibility of the crown she so desperately wants to wear. Let's be clear. The British public and the wider Commonwealth will never recognize Meghan Markle as a true royal. How could they, when everything about her seems to scream entitlement, selfishness, and a complete lack of understanding of what it truly means to serve others? The monarchy, despite its flaws, is an institution built on centuries of tradition, sacrifice, and a deep, unspoken bond with the people it serves. Meghan, in her bold attempts to reshape the monarchy to fit her own story, has shown nothing but disregard for those values. The nerve to demand her neighbors address her with a title she so publicly rejected is laughable. This isn't Buckingham Palace. It's Montecito, California, a place known for its relaxed vibe and celebrity culture, not for following old royal rules. Meghan's failure to realize that she's not in a royal court, but in a neighborhood where people couldn't care less about her self-made sense of importance says a lot about how out of touch she is with reality. Her neighbors, who probably moved to Montecito for peace and quiet, have unknowingly become part of her ongoing search for validation. Still, the way they've calmly stood their ground against her demands shows their strong character. It's important to understand that this need for titles isn't just a Meghan issue, but a Markle issue. It feels like everything she does is meant to remind people that she's still a duchess, still tied to the monarchy, and still deserving of the respect that comes with it. But here's the truth. Titles don't matter if there's no action to back them up. Just being called a duchess doesn't make you one. Acting with grace and responsibility does. Meghan, with her ongoing lawsuits, public mistakes, and unrealistic demands, has done little to live up to the role. The royal family, staying quiet and calm, must be watching this chaos with a mix of disbelief and relief. If anything, Meghan's actions have only proven why the family made the right choice to let her and Harry go their separate ways. Imagine the harm she could have caused. If she were still part of the royal family, using her influence to settle personal grudges and make unreasonable demands on anyone who disagreed with her. Yet, through it all, Meghan keeps acting like the victim. Every criticism is seen as an attack, every refusal as a conspiracy, and every result of her own actions as an unfair punishment. The narrative feels tiring and obvious, crafted to shift, blame and uphold the image of being a misunderstood trailblazer. But Meghan isn't a trailblazer. She represents a hollow version of one, confusing attention with impact and fame with genuine respect. What's most frustrating about this whole situation is how Meghan's actions seem to undermine the royal family's legacy. For centuries, the monarchy has stood as a symbol of continuity, stability, and dedication to service. It has endured wars, scandals, and major societal changes, evolving with the times while staying true to its core principles. In contrast, Meghan's actions come across as a deliberate effort to undermine those values, turning the monarchy into little more than a brand for personal gain. In doing so, she has distanced herself not just from the institution, but also from the millions who deeply respect it. The British public, despite their flaws, have a remarkable knack for recognizing insincerity. The British people know what genuine royalty looks like, and Meghan Markle doesn't fit the image. Her relentless efforts to hold on to a title she hasn't earned and doesn't deserve are both obvious and pitiful. While she may still seek the spotlight in the US, the UK has already formed its opinion. Meghan Markle is not, and never will be, part of that world. In the end, her story is one of missed opportunity. She had the chance to bring fresh ideas to the monarchy, modernizing it in a way that honored its traditions while welcoming progress. Instead, she chose to center everything around herself, transforming what could have been a narrative of unity and service into one of division and self-interest. For that, she has only herself to blame. If you found this analysis of Meghan Markle's actions as striking as we did, be sure to hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates. We've got plenty more coming your way. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.